The games happen on Sunday night, December 5th. We only have 4 games, so let's go into depth in each one a little bit more. The first game is the Jazz beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 109-108. Jazz, every single year they do this. Third seed in the Western Conference because the Warriors and the Suns, they're just too good. 16-7, and the Cavaliers, they're not bad themselves. 13-11. 4-6 in the last 10, so they're falling off a little bit in the last 10 games. They do have some injuries, and they do have one of the best defenses in the league, just because pure size. I suppose they play Lauren Markkanen at 3, which is interesting. For the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell, 39 minutes. The minutes super high, 35 points. Mitchell in the last 2 weeks. Mitchell has been playing pretty well this year. 28th ranked player in the last 2 weeks, averaging 24 points, with 1.3 steals. I think for him, a lot of he should be a top 40 player, but his rankings could fluctuate a lot, as we all know. And one big thing that I'm looking at is his steal number. He's 16th ranked player on the season, actually, averaging 1.7 steal. Can he sustain that? We don't know. Maybe he could be a 1.5 because that's where he was in his rookie season. We'll see. Mike Conley is a huge sell high, 4 steals and 6 assists. Here is really good, 3 threes with 11 points, but I think he's a huge sell high. Try to get him for any top 50. But he's doing it, have pretty good games, pretty consistently. 42nd ranked player in the last one. Like, if you can get a younger top 50 player, because the guy always gets hurt in the last years, and if you look at his he's shooting 54% in the last 2 weeks. That's not sustainable. Majority of his value coming from his assist and threes. Right, he doesn't really score that much, and he doesn't really get that many steals either. He's a great free throw shooter, but he doesn't get to the line that much. So like across the board, he's very, very efficient. Not very, very efficient. He's fairly efficient from the free throw line, and he doesn't really turn the ball over. A lot of his value coming from threes and assists. So he's the kind of guy that's like Joe Ingles a couple years ago. The ranking is super good, but if you look at his counting stats, not so great. So if you can get a top 50 player for Mike Conley, and also the health issues, health concerns, I much prefer trade him for a top 50 player if I can. Maybe him plus somebody for Vucevic. Maybe him plus somebody for Bradley Beal, who's been shit lately. I'll try to make those trades. Rudy Gilbert, 6 points, 20 rebounds, a steal and 5 blocks. I mean, Rudy just does this every single year. I feel like his ranking almost doesn't matter because really you just want to look at his field goal, his blocks, and his rebound. They all been very, very consistent. Like, what you're gonna get out of Rudy Gay every season pretty much. Royce O'neill, minutes is super high, no defensive stats. He has been a huge defensive guy until the injury, I suppose, the ankle issues. So I don't know how much that would bother him. But I think he could be rostered. The minutes is super high, and he does a little bit of everything else. Everything. Bogdanovich numbers, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal with 4 threes. It's a decent game from him overall. And look at the bench guys. They play 8-man rotation, and the bench guys all play just 20 minutes. I think Jordan Clarkson is probably a drop at this point. He's not getting... If he cannot even get 26, 27 minutes consistently every single night, then he's a drop. Right? And Rudy Gay, now they have a second scorer coming in. Rudy Gay had a pretty decent game, 15 points and 8 rebounds in just 20 minutes, but they're not rosterable guys. You could maybe stream them if they have a lot of games. But I'd just rather leave them on the waiver wire. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, oh boy. Darius Garland, what a beast. 31 points, 4 steals, even. Like, if he can average 1.5 steals, his ranking is going to be super good. But of course, you have to kind of ignore his high turnover. He's been turning the ball over a lot. In the last 2 weeks, his ranking won't be good because, 31st ranked player in the last 2 weeks in those 7 games, averaged 24 points. Man, that's a little bit high, but you would expect him to average 20, 21, 20, because Colin Sexton is no longer there, and his assist number should also be high. Like, him and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, they got that chemistry going on already. And 87% from the free throw line sounds about right. So efficiency is a bit high, but overall it should be a top 50, 60 player in 9 category leagues. But if you're pounding if you're pounding field goals and you're pounding turnovers, he's maybe top 30 guy, top 25, even. 4.1 turnovers is really high, so he's really hurting you in that category. But the counting stat, points, threes, assists, a little bit steals, all those are very, very solid. And I think with Colin Sexton out for the season, it really helped his value. So if you want to trade him, sell him high, I think now is a great time. Try to sell him to a team that love his assists, points, and threes. And that team maybe is pounding turnovers. Then his value, maybe you can sell him like top 40 player even, because if you once you pound 1 or 2 categories, his rankings goes up a lot. Isaiah Okoro, the minutes is there, 26 minutes again, but he doesn't really do anything, and he's very offensively challenged. He won't score. He won't even average 10 points even given 30 minutes. Jared Allen continues to play super well, man. This guy in the last 2 weeks probably better than Darius Garland. He is the 9th ranked player. 22 points. 17 points. Still 0.4 steals. He doesn't really get that many steals, so 2 steals here is good, and 2 blocks. What a beast. Shooting 71%. There is a chance that he might average 17, 18 points the rest of the season, right? He's been doing it for a while now, and then with Colin Sexton out, that's a lot of usage going away, and those going to go to Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Really, really good game from him. And Evan Mobley didn't shoot the ball well, but again, like this Cavaliers team, they got a lot of good fantasy players. Evan Mobley in the last 2 weeks, to me, he's a top 50 player, 36 ranked. He could push into top 30, 40. It depends on his block numbers. If he can sustain at this level, I don't see why not. If he can block 2 point something shots a game, just one block, I don't see why he can't be a top 30 or 40 player. He's a guy that can do everything, and he doesn't really hurt you. He's not a great free throw shooter, but he's an okay one. Maybe 78, 70, high 70s guy. Free throw, good rebounding, get some assists, steals, blocks, yep, everything. So if you drafted this guy in the last round or so, he's really paying off. Good stuff. Lauren Markkanen, I think he needs to be rostered, but this is the games you see, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, they're the 1-2 options on this team. Lauren Markkanen, he can give you some points and threes and some rebounds, but not the most exciting. But we could roster him. Ricky Rubio had a nice bounce back, being just the 2 assists, a steal and a block, 15 points. He still remains to be a must roster. And Sadie Osman in 20 minutes played decently well. 2 steals, 4 assists, but the minutes is not there. So unless Isaiah Okoro or one of the guards is out, I think we just want to leave him. But we could definitely stream him. The next game is the Charlotte Hornets beating the Atlanta Hawks. This game was wild. Consider Hornets had 4 guys out and with 2 started, LaMelo Ball and who else? It was PJ Washington play. LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier were both out. They're gonna be out for a while. If they did catch COVID, they're gonna be out a week, 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks probably. So in the short term, a lot of guys need to be rostered. Cody Martin needs to be rostered. PJ Washington, Ish Smith, even maybe Nick Richards. He only got 7 minutes here, but a lot of those guys, all these guys like PJ and Cody and Ish Smith, all those guys are must roster. They might be putting up top 50 values in the next 2 weeks. So if they're out there, on the waiver wire, it's not too late to pick them up. Probably in competitive leagues, they already scooped up. PJ Washington being the best guy. Then Cody Martin and then Ish Smith. And also Kelly Oubre Jr. He was playing super well already, even before this game. He went off here 39 minutes, had 28 points. He's gonna score a bunch, hit a lot of threes, and get some defensive stats. His free throw might be an issue, but everything else is great. He was a minus 16, so that tells you, even though he put up big stat, doesn't really mean this game at least. didn't really help his team win. That's Warriors had him last year. He had a horrible season, just really trying to integrate him into the Warriors system. Just didn't work out. Like they kept Andrew Wiggins. Like Andrew Wiggins had some bad moments last year as well. But look at Wiggins now this year. Miles Bridges went off, and all these guys need to be a sell high like a week and a half into like a week and a half later. Miles Bridges, he won't have this usage. He won't shoot 73%. He's still obviously a top 50 player, but as we can see with Terry Rozier back, his numbers are falling off a little bit, quite a bit. This game really good. 3 steals and a block, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, 6 for 6 from the free throw line as well. But he is going to regress once all the guys come back. So enjoy him this 1 week and a half. I really would try to sell him for a top 25 guy, top 20, top 25. Maybe him plus somebody for a top 20 guy is something I would look into do. Gordon Hayward also, didn't really do much this game. But again, like if I can get a top 50, he's like Mike Conley. If I can get him for a top 50 player, I would. Otherwise, probably just hold 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Is okay, but didn't really take the opportunity considering everybody's out. We already talked about Caleb Oubre Jr. 0 for 4. Just be careful his free throws. Ish Smith, great. 18 points, a steal, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and 2 threes. Really good stuff. Like give Ish Smith 30 minutes, he could be a top 50 player. PJ Washington, same thing. Cody Martin, all those guys are super good if they have the usage. Right, because Ish Smith can get you assists, mainly assists and some steals, but a little bit everything, PJ Washington, I think, wow, what a game. 38 points, 38 minutes, 13 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals. But this is what we want to see out of PJ Washington. Multiple categories, threes. As a big man, he shoots threes, rebounds, steals, blocks, points. Really good stuff. A must roster guy. And Mason Plumlee, when is he coming back? We don't know, right? They keep starting Nick Richards, but play PJ Washington 38 minutes. So, Cody Martin, really good defensive guy. Good steals, good blocks, good rebounds, and some assists as well. Very efficient. So next 2 weeks, I could see him be a top 50 guy. And try to sell all 3 of them, but it'll be hard. So enjoy them while you can. And they somehow got the win over the Atlanta Hawks, so that's kind of embarrassing. Scored 130 to 127. And the Atlanta Hawks, they obviously still miss some of the wing guys. They're missing. Who they missing? Cam Reddish is still out. DeAndre Hunter. So Kevin Huerter is a must roster. Went off again. 28. Kevin Huerter has been playing really well the last. Maybe not last week, but this week he's been playing really well. 28 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. Crazy efficiency, but he doesn't really get that many defensive stats this season. But you could definitely stream him for points and threes, at least. Shot the ball super well. Trae Young, 25 points, 15 assists, and a steal. Just Trae Young numbers. Clint Capella, 14 rebounds with no defensive stats. A bit underwhelming. I mean, he was probably a sell high last week. He was like the top 5 player last week. This week has fallen off. John Collins, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 31 points. Collins went off. And what we want to do with Collins is, try to trade him for a top 20 player if you can. Otherwise, just hold. He's going to be that top 40 player very comfortably, I think. Very efficient. Doesn't really hurt you anywhere. Timothy Luwawu, 39 minutes. But, had 2 blocks here. That's interesting, but not really interested for now. But consider he got 38 minutes, and a lot of guys were out. I mean, Bogdanovic was also out. If Bogdanovic is also, I forgot to mention that. So I think Timothy Luwawu is a guy that we could potentially stream at Delano Gallinari for points, threes, and free throws. I know Gallinari pretty well. I don't know about Timothy Luwawu. I don't really know what he brings. He had 2 blocks here, but usually he doesn't really bring a lot of defensive stats. So the upside is not really there. Delon Wright has a lot of upside. He played 30 minutes last night, just the 15 minutes here. So now we know, he cannot be trusted. Gallo, for sure, we could stream. Points, free throws, threes. Did that here, 17. Just 1 3, but 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Let's go to the next game. The Washington Wizards lost to the Toronto Raptors. KCP, man, like we need maybe to think about roster KCP. Don't drop him because he's been doing for not just 45th ranked player in the last 2 weeks, and it's not like just the last 2 weeks. For the whole season 97th, but lately he's been playing super well. Let's look at his last 2 weeks. 15 points. 2.3 threes, like he can sustain that. Maybe not 15 points, but 13 points I think is doable. And most importantly, the steal numbers is really good this season. On the season, he's averaging 1.3 steals. Yeah, he could be that 1.3, 1.4. It's a bit high to be honest, but if there's a chance he could stay at 1.3. And what else? 52% is super high. I think he's probably needs to be picked up, and I will try to sell him if I can, because it's not sustainable. A lot of the stuff like free throw is not sustainable, field goal, steals probably not. The point. But he does have a role on this team. He'll be getting consistent 30 minutes, close to 30 minutes, and I'll grab him and see what's going on. Last year on the Lakers, he was fantasy wise, he was just super bad. This year looks like he's making a comeback. Kyle Kuzma, didn't shoot the ball well, but 7 rebounds and steal on the block is decent. I think we could still hold him for the big those rebound numbers. Daniel Gafford was in foul trouble, committed 15 fouls in 5 fouls in 15 minutes, but ended with 2 blocks is okay. He still needs to be rostered in category leagues because the blocks. Oh boy, Bradley Beal, 14 points, 7 assists is okay, but man, what's going on with Bradley Beal? He's obviously a buy low. In the last 2 weeks, he was ranked like close to 200. Throw him a top 50 player at this. He's not even ranked inside of 200. Throw him a top 50, like Markkanen plus somebody for Bradley Beal. I still think he should bounce back from this, but he's not going to be a top 10 guy. He's not going to average 31 points. It won't be close, Just throw him, buy low. He could, realistically, he's probably like, for the rest of the season, if he decides to turn around, he only took 12 field goals. That's really curious. Just not taking, like he's not trying, I think. I don't think he's hurt. On the season, where is Beal at? He's ranked 89th ranked player, averaging 22 points. I just think he's not trying, lately at least. And this game was out of control a little bit. But he's not getting... the only thing, he's averaging 6 assists, so that's great. He's just passing the ball, 42% from the field, 0.9 steals and 0.3 blocks. He could even do better. So I think he's just not trying. 1.6 threes. And we don't know if he's going to start trying or not. Maybe he's just letting his teammates like KCP and Kyle Kuzma and some of the young guys. Spencer Dinwiddie also was horrible this game at least. I think they will turn around. Both Dinwiddie and Beal will turn around. Both are buy lows in my opinion. Spencer Dinwiddie, same thing. Like the thing with Spencer Dinwiddie is that he gets assists, he gets some points, but he doesn't get a lot of steals and he doesn't really make a lot of threes. So he basically become a 2-category guy, and his points is not that. He doesn't score not even 18 points, maybe like 15. So his points is not that impressive either. So it all comes down to assist, really, and he missed it back-to-back. So it's tough to sell him even after he has those good games. So probably just hold. If you don't need the assist, really try to move him. Right, this is the only thing he provides at this point. Montrezl Harrell the 29 minutes because Daniel Gafford was in foul trouble. He was falling off a little bit. If you can trade Montrezl Harrell for any top 50, like Montrezl Harrell plus Markkanen for Bradley Beal, try to do those trades. For the Raptors, Scottie Barnes, the minutes remains to be super high. He played fairly well this week. A lot of defensive stats, but again, the Wizards, they're just missing shots themselves. Didn't really need the Raptors to turn out the heat. 1 block here. Not OG. Scottie Barnes, pretty high on this guy. He has the upside. He's like a Derek White, He may not be a top 50 player, but he has that upside. And when he has those good games, it looks really nice. Pascal Siakam, great game, 31 points. But not much else. 6 rebounds and 3 threes. Wizards inside without Daniel Gafford, he probably just runs over people. Really good game. Precious Achiuwa, we could stream him in the short term, but he doesn't really block shots, and his field goal is not great for a big man. So it really just comes down to rebound. If you need rebounds, you could stream him. Otherwise, just leave him out there. Tran Jr. is a buy low. Let's see where he is. Yeah, well, still 80th ranked player. I think Tran Jr. is their top 50. I think it all depends on how many steals he gets. If he can sustain that 1.5, he will be a top 50 player very comfortably. But if not, if he's just a one steal guy, maybe 80, 90, I say I want to buy low because he came back from the injury and didn't really, hasn't been playing well and not aggressive. Just took 8 shots. Give him some time to come back fully, I think. When you buy low, I look at him as a top 50, so like throw him a top 80 player, do a 2-for-1, try to do those trades. Don't throw him a top 50 player because he may not be that even. Fred VanVleet, what a weird game. Even though they won, there was a blowout. The guy's numbers, just weird. 10 points and 4 assists and nothing else for Fred. He'll be better than this. Chris Boucher coming and play 18 minutes, but it's not guaranteed. And as a collectively, the Raptors, known for their defense, known for their steals, they only got 3 steals this game. So very, very low defense, but somehow Wizards only score 90 points. So just guys missing shots or the pace is super slow. Yeah, they only took 7. They only had 10 turnovers and took just the 73 shots. If you compare this, so the pace of the game is just different. They took 86 shots, while having, they only had 6 turnovers. But yeah, that if a team has a higher, have a good pace, they're just gonna be better fantasy players in general. And the Wizards only took 73. I guess they went to the free throw line 30 times, so that made up the difference, a lot of the difference there. Yep. Let's look at the last game of the night. Wow, Rockets, crazy. Once Jalen Green got hurt, crazy. And Daniel Theis, Daniel Theis still played this game. So can you say Jalen Green is bad? Part of it is for sure. Because Daniel Theis still played this game. Christian Wood still had a huge game. Yeah. Let's look at the Pelicans side. Herbert Jones, he's a must roster just because his defensive stats and the minutes is there. We know when Zion comes back, still maybe a couple weeks. He's been getting consistent 25 to 30 minutes. He's a must roster. I'm still in 3 blocks here. Fouled out. Otherwise, he would have played more. Really, really scary guy. Let's roster him. Brandon Ingram went off. His best game of the year, for sure. 40 points is still in a block. Took 28 shots against a bad Rocket team. Brandon Ingram, I think ranking-wise, I don't know if he could be a top 40 guy or 50. But the scoring is there. The rebounds is there. The assist is there. So those categories are hard to find on the waiver wire. So, if you can make a trade OG for Brandon Ingram, try to do those trades. But like in 9 category leagues, OG's per game ranking wise is better than Brandon Ingram's. He gets way more defensive stats, but Brandon Ingram's other counting stats are greater. So it depends on what you want, to be honest. But again, steals are easy to find on the waiver wire, But points is harder. But OG this season has been good. But I'm just saying, try to buy Brandon Ingram with like I would trade Mike Conley for Brandon Ingram very comfortably. But again, it depends on your team. If your team needs steals or blocks, you don't want to trade away a guy with a lot of defensive stats, right? So it just depends on the situation. Valanciunas, what a beast. 17 points, 10 rebounds, a steal, and 3 blocks. If he start blocking shots, he's going to be a top 20 guy. But to me, he's still probably top 40. And always the Zion Williamson return is a worry. So if you can get a top 30 guy, I still would. Garrett Temple somehow got the minutes, but they just refuse to. They want Nickeil Alexander-Walker to come off the bench, so that's why they're doing these type of things. And obviously, who is out? Josh Hart is out this game. Devontae Graham 4 assists and a steal. I mean, not the greatest production, but if you pounding field goals, I think he's still a hold. These assists are hard to find. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, his production has been bad. The reason we're holding him because of the upside, but the production has been bad. I think like if you want to drop him, sure. If you need productions now, I just think the guy has a lot of upside. He gets a lot of defensive stats, and he has that ability to go for 30 points. Like between him and Jalen Green, I prefer him. Right? They're basically, very inefficient, pretty much the same, but except Nickeil Alexander-Walker gets a bunch of defensive stats. So I prefer Nickeil Alexander-Walker over Jalen Green. Now let's look at the Rockets. Jae'Sean Tate, another great game. I mean, no defensive stats, but 7 assists. They're just moving the ball better. 24 assists here. I don't know the average of the number of assists when Jalen Green played. I don't know. Jae'Sean Tate, and the report came out that Jalen Green is ways away. He's weeks away. Who knows? So I think we could drop him, to be honest. When he's close to return, you can pick him up, but we could really just move on. Christian Wood, 23 points. He's still a bad free throw shooter. It's not because of Jalen Green. You can't blame that on Jalen Green, but continues to play well. Daniel Theis, 12 minutes, 16 minutes. Let's ignore him. And look at that. Anpro Şengün played 17 minutes, but you could hold him, but it's like a stash, right? You could hold him. Like they just refuse to give him high minutes, and Coach Silas. But like the number is like you could roster him. Like if the Rockets got 4 games, you could even stream him that week. Steal and a block, 4 rebound, and he could usually give you 3 assists. 4 from free throw line is a surprise. But he's a multiple category guy, bringing values, rebounds, assists, steal, blocks, right? And he could score close to 8 to 9 points. If you're gonna stream points, right, you find a guy on the waiver wire. If they don't go off, if you don't get lucky, they probably just give you 13 points. So it's like 4-point difference. It's not that huge. But like the steals, blocks are there, the rebound, the assists are also there. So I think if Rockets got a 4-game week, it's perfectly okay to stream Şengün. Kenyon Martin Jr. is another guy. If he gets 30 minutes, he will pop off. But not yet. I think Eric Gordon, toward the end of the season, they gotta let him go. Right? Coach Silas is trying to win games now, trying to make himself look good. So playing Eric Gordon, Garrison Matthews, to be honest, also, he's not part of the future. Ideally, it should be Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr., even though if you play those guys, they're not going to win games. But you want to develop them. That's the thing. You should be playing Christian Wood, Şengün, Jalen Green, and Kevin Porter Jr. They may not be the best fit. So once you figure that out, in the next season, you make some changes. But Eric Gordon should be traded, to be honest. And Garrison Matthews also, I don't know how old this guy is, but in the short term, both guys need to be rostered. Huge points and threes guy. They don't really provide anything else. Garrison Matthews grabbed 7 rebounds and Eric Gordon grabbed 5. But again, no defensive stats from either guy. Daniel House getting 20 minutes. And that's it, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.